Everybody, welcome into the studio this evening. I'm looking forward to this. It's finally starting to feel like fall here where I'm at in my little corner of the world, and Halloween is just around the corner. Decorations are going up. Things are looking a bit spooky. Continuing on with the Halloween theme, I'm going to paint that guy over there, which is an owl. And I always think it's funny that we don't think of owls as particularly scary anymore. We kind of think of them as wise animals now, and I'm not sure where that transition came from or how that came about. I always thought they were a bit of a scary kind of a thing. If you look back at all the old Halloween decorations, there are lots of owls, and now we've moved on to other things. I guess that's okay. So tonight we're going to paint that, or our version of that, and so I want to thank you all for joining me here. This Wednesday is one of the things I really look forward to as a midweek kind of break from this insanity of normal work week. So thank you, everybody who's joined in. We got a half dozen people or so in here right now. Sudike is here. Thank you for joining. Anybody else who's here, if you want to say hi, just reach out and say hello. We're usually pretty nice. I'm usually pretty nice about everything. I'm going to jump in. Eliza is here. Hello. I'm going to jump in and get started with this. And I'm going to start in the background a little bit. I want to get this moon on here just a bit because I'm going to paint the background this time, and the background's going to be darker, and I'd rather paint a lighter moon first than a darker color behind it and then come on with a lighter color. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of yellow ochre, really light, and put that on there. Maybe, you know what, let's mix that with a little bit of green here. Make it a little bit scarier moon. What do you think? Let's see. Susie is here. Welcome, Susie. Always good to see you in the studio. And if I haven't said, it's the supplies that I'm using. This is a piece of Arches watercolor paper. I'm sorry, I don't know what weight it is. It seems to be 90-ish. It seems pretty light, actually. Much lighter than I thought. It's the other half of the sheet that I used last week. But it is Arches, I know, because it had the watermark on it. So we've got that going for us. And the brushes that I'm using right now, I'm using one of my golden maple brushes. And I'll just say it down below. Hey, Dana is here. Hello, Dana. Good to see you in the studio again. If anybody doesn't know, I'm running a little promotion with Golden Maple right now. You can get these brushes through a link down below. Save yourself a few dollars on the cost of them if you use the link down below, and my discount code down there. I think they're about $25 for a set of 3 brushes. Size 4. Where's my other brush? Size 6. Is this a 6? This is for them as a size 6 and a size 2. So 3 nice mop brushes or quill brushes here. I'll also be using some of my favorite King Art brushes. These are the 90/20 series. I don't have a discount code for these. I wish I did. But when I get into some finer areas, this pointed round really does the trick, especially in and among these branches or whatnot. It's a fantastic brush. Let's see. Liza's taking a phone call. Sunike says, I enjoy seeing the pictures, shows the variety of the things you paint. Oh, I made the comment, anybody who wasn't here earlier, or maybe you can't see it, I'm not exactly sure. I said, maybe it's about time I change up some of the pictures in my opening roll. I've been using those for close to a year now. And, maybe it's time. Done a lot of painting since then. I've got a lot newer paintings. I don't know that I've got a lot better paintings, but I've got a lot newer paintings anyways. I'll let somebody else decide if they're better. And so that would be fun to rework that and put some newer things on there. I think as long as I'm doing this, I'm gonna put on this branch first too. That's a little out of order in that I wouldn't necessarily paint something right up in the foreground first, but that's okay. I think it's okay to mix things up a little bit, especially as we're waiting for that big old moon to dry before I can paint the hat on this owl anyways. Let's see, let me grab a little bit of blue in here. I'm going to put some blue. Anybody who has seen me paint wood before, branches, limbs, twigs, I throw a lot of color in there just because if I look out in nature, I see a lot of colors in the branches and whatnot. There's not just one color, and it's not a solid color, so I like to get a whole host of colors in there. I think it just looks a little bit more natural, a little nicer, and we'll just continue this painting right on around the claws, the talons of this old owl. And I already feel like I'm working at about 1,000 miles an hour. So if anybody wants me to slow down, it's take a little breath or something, just let me know in the chat. I'm happy to do that. I've talked about how sometimes I feel like I get really speeded up sometimes, and I recognize that. So if y'all want me to slow down just a little bit, just ask me to do that or drop it in the chat, and when I look up, I'll see it. I don't know if I've mentioned it today or not. The paints that I'm using, I love the paints that I use. These are my M. Graham paints over here. I've been using M. Graham paints for a long time now, probably close to 20 years, and they are absolutely lovely. They're so buttery smooth. They come off the palette very nice. They're bright and vibrant colors. They're probably not quite as granular as some paints, and that's okay. It's just a little different quality in there. Let's see. Hi, Susie. Gotta thank you for the reference. I got the Terry Harrison book on painting water, and I love it. Oh, there you go. Good. Good. I love when you guys can share and enjoy what somebody else suggests. In my day job, when I'm not painting watercolors, when I'm doing what I actually get paid to do, one of the big topics that we talk about in my area consistently is partnering with others for an end result. And when I see you guys talk about things in the chat, and then you say, hey, I'm glad you mentioned that. It really turned out nice. I like that. It's kind of partnering together to find a common end, something that we all can enjoy, or something that everybody finds useful. Really makes me feel good that that this is kind of a nice little community that we've developed here, or that has developed here, I guess I should say that. And that we can all use it to draw from each other, to get the best out of our watercoloring experience. Makes me feel very happy. All right, so I've got our first layer on most of this branch. I guess maybe I'll just continue with some of this down here. I was going to let a little bit of this dry, but I think we can do some more of this. Something like that. This doesn't have to be super precise. Susie says she loves the community also. It's so nice. I'm sure I have shared before that when I started watercolor painting, I had a lot of help along the way. A lot of people offered a lot of advice. Now, some of it was better than others, but all of it was welcome because I was trying to learn everything I could. This was a time when I just didn't have the experience with watercolors that I have now, and so I was willing to listen to many things that were told to me and experiment and try them out. And so, because I've been on the other end of this, where I got to benefit from so many people wanting to help me, one of the things I like about this channel is this gives me the opportunity to to give back a little bit, and to see that some of the things I have learned disseminate to some other people. And if we can all make watercolors a little easier for all of us, we'll just make it that much more enjoyable. And if it's enjoyable for one or two people, it'll be enjoyable for more, and we'll all enjoy watercolors together. And I think that's fantastic. Plus, I try to be pretty positive. I don't think I'm an overly negative person. I try to be pretty positive about things. Maybe I wasn't always that way in my life, but I've certainly grown to be that way. And so I do want to say thank you to everybody for giving back to our community here and helping each other out. There we go, just a little bit of color on some of this. Got a few branches in here. I got another branch up top I'm going to put on right now. So I'm trying to think. I don't think that I forgot how to speak for a second. I don't think I've had that much going on this week. I don't have a whole lot of stories to tell. Oh, I do. I will tell a story. I lied to you. I was walking across the campus that I work on today. This was a wonderful little experience. And as I'm walking a little bit, I had to get out of my office. I'd been in meetings for about 6 hours at this point, on Zoom calls, and generally not doing a whole lot that's fun. So I said, well, I've just got to get out and take a little walk. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 6 minutes or 10 minutes. I just need to step out for a second. And I stepped out of my office, and literally about 100 steps away, there were I'm going to call them a flock. I guess they're a flock, a school, a gaggle, I don't know, of young turkeys. All just gathered around, pecking at the ground, looking around at whatever. They didn't seem bothered by me. I stood by them for about 5 minutes, and I took a video of them and sent it to my wife, and I was like, check this out. This is right by my office. And it was fantastic to see them just there doing what they do. People walking by. I think I was the only one that noticed them. A lot of people walking by, looking right at their phone like this and not paying too much attention to what's out there, which is another interesting thing. All right, cool. So Natalie is here. Hello. Natalie's only here for a few minutes. Okay. All right. Sudike, I just got the book, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. Oh, beautiful watercolor work. I will take your word for that. Maybe I'll look some of that up. I could totally believe that, though. Okay, so what to do next? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a coat of paint to our owl here. I'm going to wait on his hat. The hat's got a lot of detail, and when we do this hat, the hat's really going to pop off of him, or her, I guess. But let's do this. Let's do the owl first, and I'm going to start with a lighter color. If you look at that owl, I thought about doing this whole thing in browns and oranges, kind of an homage to old schooly Halloween. But I think if we paint him right, I think he's going to be spooky enough as it is. So let's do him with a little bit of yellow ochre to begin with. And we'll just give a layer of yellow ochre on here. This might actually even be a little bit thicker than we need, and that will be our base coat. Everything will build from that. Let's see, I should be able to pull some of this color around, even though it's, like I said, maybe a little thicker than we want. I do that a lot. I mix up some color on my palette, and I look at it here, and maybe it's not quite the right light. It just looks a little different, and by the time I get it on here, or maybe it's about water level on my brush, it's just not quite what I wanted, but that's okay. The good thing about that is it gives us plenty of opportunity to adjust as we go along. I think a lot of being able to paint successfully in watercolor is not the fact that you're going to do everything right? Because a lot of the time I'm not even sure what right is, but that you're able to make adjustments on the fly. Okay, Natalie says a group of turkeys is a rafter. A rafter of turkeys. That is a strange name for a group. A strange name if I've ever heard one, but that's okay. So is a gaggle and a murder and a posse and a whatever else groups of animals are called. I do like turkeys. I have a strange turkey story, and somebody tell me if I've told this before. When my wife and I moved up to the central coast of California, where I'm living now, we had moved into her uncle's house. Now it was vacant, so we weren't imposing on anybody. But her uncle had a friend who lived across the street, and his name was Curly. And Curly was, well, I think Curly was about 95, 94, 95, something like that. And Curly was a landowner here, had several properties, and he didn't want to have anybody manage his properties for him, even though he was getting a little older. And one day, as happens from time to time, one day he fell off the roof and broke his hip and broke his leg. He actually broke a few bones. Like I said, we were living across the street, and my wife and I were talking. And we're like, well, Curly's not young. He's 90, whatever he was. I hope he's going to be okay. It's going to be a good story when there's a Curly in it. Well, so as it turned out, Curly lived, so you know where the story's going. Curly lived for a few more days. The neighbor to the left of his house used to check on him every day, and went over one morning, or one afternoon, I guess. Went over one afternoon and found out that Curly had passed during the night and was in his recliner. Well, as it turned out, that morning, my wife and I got up, and it was super foggy here, right? Which is not, too far out of the norm, but it was really foggy. But for whatever reason, we could see across the street to Curly's house, and there were about, I'm going to say 30 turkeys on his house. Literally on his house. There were more in his front yard and on his driveway. But at the time, I had never seen turkeys fly up onto houses or things like that. And I told my wife, I was like, what's going on over at Curly's house? This is the weirdest thing. And she went, uh-oh, I got a bad feeling. Later that day, we found out that Curly had passed. But it was an interesting, eerie kind of a thing. So maybe the turkeys are kind of premonition, like crows. They tell a story or something. Let's see, some other people have shown up. Michelle is here. Hello, and Sherry is here. Hello. I'm sorry if you jumped in on a bad story. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean for that to happen. It was just a strange turkey story that I had, my wife and I had when we first moved up here. And now I'm looking at my thing here, and I forgot to attach this. I've got a phantom stick down here. Okay, so I'm going to reset this to where I'm at now. I painted a nice greenish moon. I hope that sets kind of an eerie glow to things. I mean, it's got to be a little bit green, right? Because it's made out of cheese, right? Maybe it's gone a little south out there in space. I don't know. But here's our moon back here. It looks a little odd hanging out there now, but it's going to look better because we're going to have a dark background behind it. And this hat will be in front of it. So I think that's going to be fine. I painted part of our part of our branch that this guy is sitting on, and just did a quick wash of yellow ochre on top of our owl. And we'll get into adding some nice colors onto him in a little bit, as soon as he dries up a little bit. And we're to the part of the painting where I start to waste a little bit of time while bits dry here and there. Sorry. And I think what I'm going to do while we're waiting for that is I'm going to take a moment and clean my palette off. Get a fresh space for everything. So, does anybody have any Halloween plans? I'll tell you what we're going to do. Typically, we have a little party for the kids, or with the kids, right? And they invite their friends over, and it's not much. It's some music and a few games, and we watch a movie on the garage door or whatnot. We're not doing that this year, but we're doing something that's equally as cool, I think, probably cooler, is that we're going to watch an old black and white silent movie that's being accompanied by a pipe organ, which I think is extremely cool. So we're going to get to hear somebody play this pipe organ while the movie's going on in the background or in the foreground or wherever movies go on. But I thought that's going to be really cool to hear this pipe organ play, and I've heard it before, and it's loud, and it like rattles your seat inside the performance hall. So I think that's going to be extremely exciting to get to watch that and hear the pipe organ play all at the same time. So it's actually the movie Nosferatu. So it's a nice Halloween-y kind of a movie too. That'll be fun. So I've just mixed up a little dark here. And I don't really want to go too dark with it, especially on this first layer. But this is black to take the tone down a little bit with a couple of my neutrals, right? Paynes Gray and a little bit of neutral tint in there just to make a dark color. Now, hopefully it's pretty neutral. And I'm just gonna basically put some of this color on. And I think the fun part of this painting, I should say just this painting. I think the fun part of most paintings, but in this one, the fun part is going to be a lot of the shading that's going to go on to bring all of this to life. Sometimes you paint some flatter colors like this and you're going, that looks really nice just the way it is. But this one, I think we're going to have quite a few of these little nooks and crannies in the hat and the shading on the feathers as they get in there. Really going to make this thing pop and look really nice. Won't look quite like our reference photo. I hate to call it a reference photo over there. It's more of an inspiration photo. Susie says, painting a dark background terrifies me. You know what? I'm with you. It terrifies me too. Tracy's here. Hello. Hello, Tracy. What have you been up to? I know you've put out a couple of new videos, or I believe they're new videos. They just came into my feed this week. If you want to promo any of promo, that's probably not the right thing. If you want to promote, there you go. Promote any of your videos or your site, Tracy, please feel free. And if you want, I'll try to find a link and throw it up there for you. Sherry says it's hard to get a good even wash. Is it? It probably is. Yeah, Sherry, I have a question for you. Over large spaces, do we need an even wash? That's a legitimate question. Because you know what? Especially if we're doing like the blue in the background here, over a large area where you would think you want a nice even wash. If we don't have a nice even wash, sometimes that makes it even nicer, right? It makes it more interesting to look at. A little variation in there sometimes goes a long way. I think in general you're right. It's tough to get that, but I'm not always sure we always want that. And with our new friends who've just come, I'm gonna throw this out there again. Susie says, that was me, Michael. The uneven washes in the background haven't been successful. Yeah. You know what? Just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Whatever your background looks like, it's gonna be fine. It'll be totally fine. I say that knowing everybody worries about their backgrounds and their washes. Even me, I do. I really do. I pretend not to. I try not to, but I do. I think everybody does. But I will say, quite honestly, I do think that lots of times your paintings are better if they don't have an even wash. That's part of the coolness, the funness, the interest that watercolor brings. You know, and again, I'm not saying in every instance you have to have an uneven wash, but what I am saying is let's not be too afraid of that uneven wash, because I don't know what that quality really is. It's that watercolory quality that we get when we put paint to paper in large areas. It's that quality that sometimes really makes your painting interesting. And that's also why we chase that in smaller areas too. Sherry, I like doing dark backgrounds. I don't like any backgrounds. You already know I don't like backgrounds. But I'm going to do one here. But I don't like backgrounds because I don't like backgrounds. I don't like backgrounds because for a lot of the things I paint, I want the subject to stand alone, right? So obviously if I do a landscape, I kind of need a background. I need the sky and I need the trees. But if I paint an image of an owl, let's say, I don't know why I would think of an owl right now, but let's say I'm thinking of painting an owl, then for a lot of the time, I just want that image of the owl to be there. I don't want it to get messed up with a background, but that's me. I think slightly differently than lots of folks, and I will readily admit that. And in my effort to clean up one spot up here, I hope I haven't messed up this entire hat. I hope I haven't messed it up. Sherry, I turn the page a lot now when I paint. No! I'm assuming you're talking about your sketchbook, your outdoor sketchbook. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, cool. Look, we got this guy, and he's starting to look like something. Need to find an area where I have a little dry. I think I can do something down here. I've got to. So I'm almost to the point where I have to ditch this brush for a little bit. So I'm going to grab something that I know I have a bit more control over, and that's my King Art brush. I'm sorry, Golden Maple. I will be back to you. I promise. We have to get over trying to be perfect. Who said that? Sherry? We do. We do. If you can define perfect for me, I'll agree to try to be perfect. Right? But perfection is one of those things that's kind of not definable. And we always strive to be perfect, even though it's nearly impossible to say exactly what perfect is because perfect changes so much. So that's why I'm always like, I don't try to be right. I don't try to paint it exactly to match my reference photo, right? Because then there's an exact standard that I have to live up to and meet up to. That's hard to do. But if I just use it as a reference photo or an inspiration photo and take my own cue from it, then all of a sudden now I've freed myself up to do a lot more and to take some chances and to potentially do a better painting. Not necessarily do a better painting, but potentially to do a better painting and at least have more fun with it, because if I'm trying to be stick exactly to what I'm painting, and I'm only going to be satisfied if I do it exactly the way it looks, I'm always going to be miserable, because there's only a handful of people in the world that can do something like that. It's very hard to do. All right, cool. Have you ever heard an owl hoot at night, very loud and spooky? I have. So I grew up and was lucky enough to be a Boy Scout, and our troop had some very good leaders, and one of them would take us on walks at night, and he would hoot at owls and get them to talk back to us, which was really cool. And he taught us some different owl calls and how to recognize what the different types of owls were by how they were responding or how you called them. And so, yes, I've heard owls that way many times. And during COVID, I used to walk with my kids on the golf course by me. It's about a half a mile that way. And, we would start our walks at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And we would hear owls hooting back and forth across the fairways and whatnot, which is really cool. And I think I shared with you all that I've recently started to go fishing every weekend. Well, I get up early in the morning, right? I just do. That's when my body wakes up. Well, I went out one morning and I was walking around the lake, and lo and behold, I didn't hear him at all. But an owl flew about 20 feet in front of me, just came out of one tree and flew across the lake that way. And that was one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. Where I live, Sherry, I get barn and tawny owls. I love it when I hear them. Ooh, I grew up on a farm. I don't think that's anything that's a surprise to people, knowing my love of farm animals and whatnot, and we used to have snowy owls that would get in our barn in the winter, big giant white owls, and they'd stay there, so we'd see them from time to time, and they are extremely cool. I don't remember any tawny owls. That would be cool. Let's see, Susie says, Sherry, I don't think so. But the Rapture Man brings owls to country fairs and talks about the birds. Ooh, that's cool, because then you get to see them up close. Is that right? I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that. That sounds like that'd be fun. All right, I'm just trying to give a little bit of color here. I think you can see that this is really nothing more than some burnt umber over top of my yellow ochre. Think about it for a second. But it's gonna be the beginning of building up some colors here. Especially on this tail, which is going to be really nice. Let's see. We are never happy if we try to be perfect. There you go. I found I do my best painting when I do your own thing. There you go. Sure, I'm happy if I can recognize this subject in my work. I don't want to be a slave to that reference photo. I really should not call it a reference photo. I should call that, I keep pointing differently, I should call that an inspiration photo, because that's kind of how I use it. You've all seen me paint. Look, I painted a black cat from a tiger cat the other day. It really wasn't much of a reference. It was most definitely much more of an inspiration. And I guess I do that a lot. But I figured out early on that trying to be, right, and I'm going to put it in air quotes, perfect, and do things, again in air quotes, right, really made me cranky because I couldn't do it. And then I had to decide, I don't know what right means. I don't know what perfect means. I can do my own job of it, and I can think I can do a good job of it. But I don't know what somebody thinks is going to be perfect, and so then I can't worry too much about it. And I always encourage other people to try to adopt that. And shoot, I think we should probably adopt that in our normal everyday life too, right? Let's give ourselves a little grace and a little understanding that we're not perfect, and none of us are perfect. We don't all know what perfect is, especially in everyday life where so many things are so close to being right and wrong and good and bad and black and white all in one. So I don't know why I turned this into some kind of quasi-inspirational soliloquy all of a sudden. Somebody needs just to tell me to be quiet and just get back to painting. I don't know where all that came from. Sherry says there are lots of owls where she lives. I'm in A Bright now for my grandson's wedding on Saturday. A Bright, okay. I don't know. What a blessing to see your grandson get married. Have a great day. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope it's a glorious day for everybody. I hope it goes off without a hitch. Not just for the bridal party, but for everybody, but especially for the bridal party, because I've only been involved in one wedding, but I know that if this wedding is going to be anything like mine, the bride has probably put in so much time to try to make this a perfect kind of a thing that if it goes off any differently, I would feel badly about it. So I hope for her sake, as well as everybody else's, that it goes off smashingly without nary a hitch. What? Iggy, okay, Iggy. Let's see, Sherry says, we drove here. I painted my pumpkin along the way. Okay, cool. Now that was a challenge. Painting while moving, that is a challenge. Michael, listening to you talk is half the fun. Your idea of fun is odd. I don't know that anybody thinks listening to me is fun. I don't. But if you do, could I have you come and talk to the team I work with, because sometimes they don't think it's so fun listening to me. I just need you to have a little talk with my crew, convince them that talking to me is a fun, worthwhile thing. That would be great. I would very much appreciate that. ABS, Alberta, Canada. Okay. You drove up to Alberta, Canada. I got it. Alberta. I have been to Canada, but I don't believe I've ever been to Alberta, Canada, which I'm assuming is quite lovely because so much of Canada is. And if you excuse me for a moment, I need to get a drink of water. Iffy, that's Iggy, that's quite a word picture. Iggy, not iffy. There you go. What you could have said is Iggy. That's a pretty iffy statement. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. All right. Let's see. I need to decide where. I want to decide where this guy's chin feathers are. I'm going to call them chin feathers because I don't have any idea what else they would be called. And I'm going to add a little color to this. I've got just something on the tip of my brush here. Let's see. I'm going to find where that chin is, and I want to denote that. I've just marked it right here, whether it's really right there or not. That seems to be the right line that I've drawn on there, so I'm going to kind of go with it. And this is going to be the demarcation between his chin and his chest. I'm going to do this. Okay, all right. Cool, so we're getting some color on here. We're kind of dividing him up a little bit. I think he's getting there. He's starting to look nice. I think I want to get some color up here and bring it down here. It's a looking drive. It's a long drive. It's a long drive. Stupid spell check changed Iggy to Iffy. That's the problem with spell check, isn't it? Spell check thinks it knows best. And I guess sometimes it does. Not certainly not always. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's just annoying. Yeah, and then some. It helps to have watercolor paper. It does help them. Yeah, right. Spell check changed my word too. You get 140-pound paper marked as watercolor, and if you can get 100% cotton, is the best. True that. That's true. Well, when I say it's the best, I enjoy it the best. But I do have a question. Who said that? Michelle? Michelle? I'm not necessarily disputing that, but I do want to ask a question. And I've tried it once, and my answer, I'll tell you my answer after you chime in. Have you tried bamboo paper? That's what I was trying to think of. Have you tried bamboo paper? It is an interesting experience. And I actually, when I was painting with a group of people, had somebody who actually preferred bamboo paper, which I thought was interesting. I've tried it, but I'm curious. Patricia Schneiders is here. Good morning from the Netherlands. It's 4:46 in the morning here. Wow, Patricia, well, welcome. I hope I can. I don't know if you're normally up at 4:46 or if you happen to be up at 4:46, but thank you for joining. It's good to have you here. I hope I can make your morning enjoyable. We try to have a little fun here and enjoy things a little bit. Maybe a little break from the normal monotony of life. Okay, Michelle, so you're saying you haven't tried it yet, but you want to. It's a little different. It's not quite like regular wood pulp paper, and it's not quite like cotton. I don't know. Bamboo. Why can I not think of the word? Bamboo has some interesting qualities. Bamboo is one of the most interesting, in my humble opinion, one of the most interesting resources we have. It gets used for everything. I mean, everything from paper to flooring to, I mean, people use it as a building supply, all kinds of things. Thank you, Notes Tour. Oh, yeah, Patricia, it's 3:48, Michelle says, in the UK. Look, I feel like I'm going to have to make an opening, like, I don't know if everybody has watched him or at least knows who he is. I listened to a number of his old radio broadcasts, his old coast-to-coast radio broadcasts. Everybody remembers who Art Bell is. Wildly entertaining to listen to, a good interviewer, widely entertaining. Not always certain about the topics he would talk about, but they were interesting shows nonetheless. But he would always open with, welcome to something to the extent of, from North America to the North and South Poles, all the way to Tahiti in the East and Germany in the West, or so, I don't know, whatever he would say. But now that I have people who listen from the UK and from Australia and now from, where did you say? From the Netherlands, I feel like I need to bust out something like that a little bit. But welcome. So, Patricia, if you have any questions of me, of my painting, of my history, of my art, if you have any questions about watercolor in general, I've been doing this for quite a while. Not claiming I have all the answers, but I probably have some of them. So if you have any questions, throw them out there. I love answering questions. It's the back and forth that make this so much fun and so enjoyable for me to do. I would love for it to be enjoyable for everybody. So if you have any questions, please throw them out there. And Iggy is from Florida. There you go. Welcome, Iggy from Florida. I'll have to work. I'll work on a cold open read, and you guys can tell me how I've done with it. That'll be fun to do. It's always fun to try new things and to see what I can come up with. I love doing that kind of stuff. It's like a little challenge. All right, so I'm just trying to get a little color on here. You see, we're getting a little color around his eyes. I probably could go a little darker around there, quite honestly. Could go a little darker. Let's see if we can do that. I don't want to take up too much of that eye, but I just want to set that in a little bit. Make it look like it's set back in there a little bit. Let's do the same thing with this eye. Just set that back in a little bit and let it just come out a little bit. So when I put some orange or some gold or whatever color we're going to make that eye, I want it to look like it's staring right out there at you, like like he's staring right through you. I have bamboo paper. Okay, cool. And it works. Let me hold on a second. And it works. And I also have agave paper. Wow, it's different, but it works. Although sometimes you have to do a different technique. Okay. So, Patricia, you've tried the bamboo paper. Does it have the same qualities as cotton, or is it closer to a more normal wood pulp paper? Because I think it's closer to the cotton paper than it is wood pulp paper. Can you, okay, so Susie asked a question already. Can you lift paint from bamboo paper? Does it pill easily? Is it sturdy? I've never tried it. I think the answer to that, and I'll let Patricia answer, certainly, but I think the answer to that is going to be partially that the lifting is going to come as much from the paint as it is from the paper. So, you know, so much of the paper, if it's staining paint, I think you're still going to get a stain. And if it's, you know, non-staining or granulating, then it'll sit on top and you'll be able to lift it off much more easily. I don't remember it pilling. Yes, cotton paper indeed. I like it better than pulp. Yeah, okay, cool. There you go. I don't remember my Hannah Mule pilling like regular wood pulp paper does. Liza, remind me when we get through the holidays. I don't want to slow down our holiday train of painting here. There we go. So that's kind of like a leather strap on there, I think. Maybe I shouldn't have painted it that color leather, but probably should have made it a little darker. But that's our leather on there. Anyways, Liza, remind me when we get through our holiday painting, we'll do a night where I pull out a number of different papers, and we'll do a little painting on a couple of them to see how they all react together. How's that? That actually would be fun. I know we've done littler ones like that, where I had a couple of pieces here and there, but maybe we can do one that's got a bunch of it. You love this motif so much, it looks good. Thank you. You've just added extra pressure onto me. Now I can't screw it up. I've got to make sure it looks nice now. Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. What do I want to do? What I really want to do is I want to continue this, but I want to get some color on his wing here first. And I'm trying to look and see how I do that, because the reference photo over there, this whole wing is dark brown. The whole thing is darker. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a light coat of this burnt umber. Just a light coat of this burnt umber, and just darken that wing up a little bit. That's probably pretty good color that I got going right there. Yep. Now my problem with this is that I don't want the intensity of these two to be the same, right? I don't want a dark next to a dark. I want a light next to a dark. But in this case, I'm going to make that bit underneath these feathers that I just painted. I'm going to make that a bit darker. Where's this wing come up to? Yep, right up here. And then he kind of follows a couple of these feathers up and around. I'm gonna end up making this down here quite a bit darker. So I think we're gonna be okay with this color going all around here, and this will give it this nice golden brown color. This will be lovely. This is gonna be good. No, you can't just do happy accidents. I have plenty of happy accidents. I have plenty of happy accidents when I do these paintings. I just don't tell you guys that I've had accidents. I just talk right over my accidents and keep right on going. There we go, all the way up there and all the way down to our branch down here on the bottom. Come on down. And yes, I do kind of talk to myself sometimes. All right, there he is. There's that wing, and all right, a couple of bits of paint on here to darken it a little bit. It's got a little bit of life to it. Let's see. Sherry says, I'm loving it. I'll have a hard time drawing or painting owls. Owls are weird. I'm with you, Susie. Owls are a bit weird, and I'll tell you exactly why they're weird. Not because of anything more than I have some really light spots I just saw in there. I just want to quickly cover. Owls' faces have strange dimensions. Their eyes are right, or let's say their eyes are right, but their beak is typically down further than you think. And so when you draw an owl, you draw the beak where you think a human nose is, but it really should be down, way down where their mouth is. At least for me, when I look at an owl and I start to draw it, the beak is always way too high. And when you draw it properly, it always seems too low. This one is actually drawn incorrectly as far as actual anatomy, but it looks more right because that beak is up higher. Let's see. Iggy says, how would you approach the brushstrokes if the medium was big and you could not turn it? Oh, Iggy, because I turn my painting a lot, I would just turn my hand. I can do that. I don't have to turn the paper all the time. It's just easier for me. I didn't take any formal classes, and as I taught myself to paint, I turned it so I could always have my hand here where it was easy. But if I go out and do a plein air painting or some such thing as that, right? If I'm in a classroom setting and I'm doing a painting and my picture is pinned down, I will totally come around this way, or I will come this way and paint like this with some very light brush strokes. I can do it. It's just I'm more comfortable turning it, and so I just turn it. But I can do it that way. Let's see. Michelle says, although I don't do Halloween, I have to admit I love to see painting done of an old pirate or battered ship in a misty ocean. A pirate ship. Yeah, that might be fun. A pirate. That might be fun to do. Let's see. I don't do. Sherry doesn't do Halloween either. She's gonna have happy accidents. You could could just flatten the hat. I could cut the hat off here, and he could be a pilgrim. There you go. Sherry says, "Wait till you see my pumpkins." Okay, so you guys are talking pumpkins and finishing the challenge for next week. So Patricia, Michelle, Iggy, I do a challenge every month. It's a fun thing to do. I want everybody to just, relax with it, not take themselves too seriously, but let's all paint something the same and see how we approach it and what we come up with. And so I post a challenge on my Discord server every month, and this month the challenge is pumpkin, and you could paint your pumpkin in a whole state, right? You can paint it as a pumpkin, you can paint it as a jack-o'-lantern, you could paint it as the head of a scarecrow. You could paint it as a pie, I guess, if you wanted to. However you want to paint a pumpkin, the challenge this week or this month is pumpkin. And so next week, right here, I'll be painting my interpretation of the challenge painting. I'll be painting my pumpkin, so you'll get to see what mine looks like. And let's see what else goes on with the challenge. I don't set a specific picture, although if somebody were to ask, I would put one up there that you have to paint. I think that's part of the fun of it, is trying to figure out what it is that you want to paint and figuring out how you approach it. But it's just meant to be something that's a little bit fun and something that everybody can come together with. And it kind of got born out of kind of a challenge that I do on a different site that I belong to. They do a monthly challenge every time, and part of it came from people asking, you know, I would think I could paint a pumpkin this way, or, you know, I could paint, you know, whatever it is this way. What do you think about that? Oh, cool. I think that's great. Do it that way. Right? Let's see what it turns out like. I think it'd be awesome. And just, you know, just giving everyone the freedom to have some fun with whatever that topic is. So added a little bit more yellow ochre here. Maybe it's got a little bit of that orange, Azo Orange in there. We can't get it too far away from orange on Halloween, right? So we've done, I don't know what all we've done. We've done a number of them. I started with just the color amethyst. We did amethyst, right? Something like that. We've done beach chairs. We've done beaches. We've done, I don't know what else. We've done lots of different things, more than I bet people remember. Okay. All right. I'm going to tackle the hat up here for a minute. Oh, you did a drawing, Patricia. You did a drawing for Inktober of a bear with a pumpkin head. Now that's interesting. I like that. I do like that. I like mashups. I've done several, or I do a few. I'm proud to say that some of my mashups are hanging in people's offices at my work, or not at my office, mind you, at their office, but it's fun. Mashups are always fun to do. A mashup is just taking two things and putting them together, and in this case, Patricia's case, a pumpkin and a bear, which would be interesting. Mine typically have a bit of a thing that joins them together. Let's see, I have hanging on my office wall one that I did, which is a catfish and a vacuum cleaner. I did that because I always think of the catfish as a kind of the vacuum cleaner of a pond or something like that, and they just eat all the stuff up off the bottom of the pond, and so that went naturally together for me. What did I do? I did a cow wearing a jean jacket. I just saw it today. I did a snail with a jelly donut for its shell. That was kind of interesting. I did a duck with a mallard duck, right? It's got the big green head. The one I did had a saguaro cactus as its neck. That was kind of fun to do. Let's see, I don't know what else. I've done lots of stuff. They're all fun to do. All right, so I'm going to begin darkening underneath the bottom side of his hat here, right? This is very dark back here, and we might end up doing another layer back here too. I don't want to make this too heavy too quickly. I've done that before and it never seems to work out well, but I do want it to be quite dark. I want to not be afraid to mix some blue in here. There's going to be some blue in the background, so we can put some blue under here. Maybe it's a little bit of reflected light. Right, and I'm going to bring this out. Let's see. Sounds good. Challenging myself to paint different things. Currently a coffee latte and saucer in remembrance of my husband who passed 6 months ago. Oh, I'm sorry about your husband. I don't like to hear that. But I love that you're doing something in remembrance of him, something that he would like. I'm sure he would very much enjoy it. I have no doubt he would very much enjoy it. I bet it looks lovely. I bet it looks fantastic. So you can come up with a pumpkin to paint. All right. I like it. I like it. I don't have any idea. This is how it normally happens. I don't have any idea what we're going to do for, what's it? Oh, November. Oh, well, November. So I guess November, maybe we'll do a turkey or something like that. I don't know. I got something on the tip of this. I just looked at it and I made my hat not round now. I think nobody will notice. Let's just extend it a little bit. There we go. Maybe a little bit more of that ultramarine blue to fill some of this out. Yeah, sorry indeed. Condolences, Michelle. Absolutely. Thanks. It's a journey and journal for him. Oh, I love that. A journal for him. I love that. I'm going to try to pull a little color out here. Looks like I got a little watery here and it's pushing back on some of my color while this is still wet. That's a little thicker than I wanted, but I think we'll be okay with what we got in there. Nice and dark back there. I do want to ask, this is kind of a tough thing to ask, but I do want to ask because I really am curious. Sometimes it's tough for me to, believe it or not, sometimes a little tough to paint and talk. I don't think that should be much of a surprise to anybody that it is oftentimes tough to paint and talk. So I want to ask, because I want to do community things, does anybody have any interest in attempting to moderate while I'm painting from time to time? Could be fun. Could be fun. I'll just throw that out there. I'm not expecting that anybody's going to go, yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Because while it could be fun, it's also probably, excuse me, also probably a little frightening. Talk about it with my team at work. It's not always easy to put yourself out there in front of others. So I totally get it. I'm not. There's no ultimatum here. If nobody steps up, it's the channel's not going to go on, or I'm not going to do anything. No. Nothing like that. I'm gonna continue to do the paintings, and I'm gonna continue to do this because I really do enjoy it. I'm just kind of curious. And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. Like I said, totally fine. All right, cool. So there's some nice dark. Oh, I got a little bit of warpage on there, but there's some nice dark in there. Probably need to add a little extra dark somewhere else around his head, but I want to leave some of these feathers nice and bright out here, kind of like his eyebrow feathers. Let's see. Michelle says, I've done it before, but with time difference, it could be hit or miss for me. Okay, cool. I get it. I totally get it. And you're right. Excuse me for 1 minute. And you're right. It could get to be quite tough. I totally get it. And that's totally fine. Totally fine. Time difference. You're right. All right, so something has come back on the tip of my brush here again. I've got a little cloth up here, and I think I'm getting a little bit of something from that. Actually, I got this tip from an older watercolor artist that I took a course from at one point in time, a kind of a private course. It's a chamois for your car, right? One of those things that soaks up a lot of liquid as you're trying to dry your car off. A chamois. He was like, look, I saw a commercial for a chamois. It said it soaked up a lot of water. I thought I would give it a try to see if it would soak up a lot of water from my brushes and allow me to get the right amount of paint on there that I wanted, and it worked. And I tried it, and it works. And I use it all the time. I don't know why it's starting to give me a little hassle right now. There we go. Look at that. Got added a little feather to the front there with a little bit of negative painting. I'm going to continue right on around with this. Look. Shoo, one more. Right on around. We're going to get this done, and it's going to look fantastic. I always thought that, no, not always. No, let me take that back for a second. For a short while, let me say it that way. For a short while, I thought that negative painting was kind of cheating. Kind of cheating. You're not really painting, you're negative painting. And then I realized how cool negative painting really is, and I kind of went, oh, and you know what, I'm gonna try to incorporate as much of that as I can because it's really kind of cool. Whammy is good. I use a microfiber cloth to blot. There you go. The chamois, the sham wow. It's not really a sham wow, although it could be. It's just one of those cheap things, and it works. It works. And when you find those things that work for you, why not use them, man, right? I don't think watercolors is all that, before I say I don't think it's all that tough. I think there's a lot of watercolors that isn't all that tough, but there are some things that are tough, right? I think what most people think is hard in watercolors is understanding the layering of colors, right? That in watercolors we start light and go to dark, and that is completely opposite of the way our brain kind of thinks. And that I get is difficult. But also one of the difficult things is water level, moisture level on your brush, on your paper, and that chamois, there it is. Look, it's disgusting. It's all dirty. That little chamois helps out a ton. It helps a ton, and if you can't use it, simple things to help you out, then what are we doing, right? What are we doing? Let's use everything we can in watercolor painting to make it as easy to paint as possible so that we can focus on those other things, right? Let's take the hard stuff out of it and get on to doing some other stuff. Cool. Well, there we go. I'm gonna make that into a separate little feather there, I think. I got a weird bulge in that. I still got a weird... it's fine. I probably just made it worse than it was. Let's see. I love negative painting. It's brilliant technique. It doesn't work at my side. I think it's difficult. Negative painting, and don't have the hang of that. Okay, I get it. Painting something that's not a shape to make a shape is, again, one of those things. It does take a little bit to wrap your mind around it. I get it. Yeah, water, and if you use different papers, you have to adjust as well. Certainly, if you're jumping back and forth between a couple of different types of paper, holy cow. Boy, if you're used to using cotton paper and you go to wood pulp paper, forget about it. The water that you have to keep on the wood pulp paper is a lot less. It's a lot harder to keep a smaller amount of water on it after you've gotten used to using cotton paper. Yes, you're right. If you switch papers, it's incredibly difficult to jump back and forth time and time again. A few years ago, I was going to say, here's a funny story. It's not really funny. It's just a story. I was doing that. I had a few extra dollars, and I bought a whole bunch of cotton papers, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna paint on all these cotton papers. It's gonna be fantastic. Everything will be great. And I did it for a while, and everything was great. I had gotten used to painting on cotton, and then kind of my art fund money dried up a little bit, and I went back to using the paper that I had used, which was, of course, wood pulp paper. And about the first 10 paintings I painted, I was like, what am I doing? Did I forget totally how to paint? Because there was too much water, and I put color on, and it would immediately warp the page, and some colors don't lay down as easily on wood pulp paper as they do on cotton paper, and so you go to put a second layer on, and that first one comes right off, and I was like, what is going on? I don't understand. But it's all a matter of trying to understand water level, and if you can do that, well, you're ahead of the game for sure. All right, I'm gonna make sure we got some nice dark eyes down here. Maybe this owl is wearing some eyeliner or something. I don't know. I'm not, now that I put the dark on, I'm not exactly sure that the dark that was there is quite dark enough. But I think it's going to be okay. It'll be okay. It's all going to be okay. Everything is fine. So my hat is still wet. Everything is still wet. We got a lot going on here. How long have we been going? Holy cow. Every time I look at this, we've been going an hour and a half already. God, it seems like 20 minutes. There's no way it seems like an hour and a half. Did anybody know we've been going for an hour and a half? And if you did, why didn't you tell me? Holy cow. I guess not that I'm going to do anything about it. I'm a little surprised. Like I said, I never thought we were at this for an hour and a half already. All right, a couple of little things going on the hat here. Something to make this look kind of cool. This will probably work. Again, this is just my dark here. This is a mixture of a couple of these neutrals and a little bit of black thrown in. There's nothing special about this color, really. But it gives a bit of a good look here. Just going to bring a little bit more of this around. A little bit of this, a little bit darker over there. So I see somebody said something. I'm going to get to it in just a second, if you give me a moment. I'm dropping quite a bit of water on here. I'm not really concerned if that hat is a little off, because I want it to be a little bit off. I think it's going to look a little better if there's a little bit of differentiation on differentiation. Now that's a big word. Let's see. Until I started using cotton paper, I couldn't get the hang of watercolor painting. I get that. I totally get that. I bought myself Arches paper, didn't use it. I love sketchbooks also, just to have fun in them. So I've had so many books of cotton paper. You know, I'm a little ashamed to say this, but I would be willing to bet we all kind of have done this at one point in time. I had some cotton paper, some nice cotton paper. I think my wife had gotten it for me. Maybe somebody at work. Anyways, you know. But I got it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this when I know what I'm doing. I'm going to, you know, I don't want to waste this good paper right now. I'm going to hold on to it till I really know what I'm doing. Then I'm going to be able to paint a great painting. And I got to the point where I knew what I was doing. I was going to paint something really nice for somebody with this nice cotton paper. And then I started using the cotton paper. And what I determined was I didn't know how to use the cotton paper. It's so, whatever it was I was painting turned out a bit odd because I hadn't used the paper. It didn't turn out right. I wasn't using it properly. Let's see. Who said something over here? Dang, Michael. Looking great. Oh, thank you. Oh, Michelle, you gotta go. Okay, you're gonna head off to get some sleep before you have to function later this morning. Thank you, Michelle. Very much appreciated you stopping by. I love having you in the stream here. Hopefully you can stop back another time. It'll be awesome to have you back here with us. I think I'm going to speak for everybody else and just say it was fantastic having you here. So please stop back if you're able to. Something just flew past me. And we're going to try to make this hat look really nice. Just going to continue to add a little bit of color here and a little bit of color there. And I'm not worried about if it's right. I'm not worried about if it's right. Because I want some color and I want some variation and I want some darkness here and there, and it's going to work out. Ooh, and it is. I like the hat. I like the hat. The hat's turning out pretty cool. I don't want to get rid of all these highlights over here, but I'm okay getting rid of a couple of them. Yeah, well, I really like the hat. The hat, you can see it's got some lines. It looks like it's bent a little bit. Patricia said I have to make a lunch pack and wake up my son to bring him to school workspace in a minute. But you'll keep listening. Okay, Patricia, I totally get it. You're like a million miles away. So please go take care of your son and get him off to school. Make a fantastic lunch for him. Thank you for joining us. Again, very nice having you here. I hope you can join again. I know it's going to be tough being so far away, but thank you for joining. And if you want to join in on the challenge, you don't have to post it in Discord like everybody else, or not. I guess not everybody else does it, but you don't have to post it in Discord. You can do it yourself, and then join in when we meet to talk about it and see how yours looks in comparison to mine and everybody else's. I bet it'll be fantastic. And there's no wrong painting or anything like that. So have fun with it. Liza, you're saying it looks like a well-worn hat. It does look like a well-worn hat. It does. This guy's had this hat for a while. All right, we got some additional feathers over here. Talk about too much water. I might have just put too much water there, but we'll make it work. Got some feathers here. This is just going to add a layer of complexity, a layer of depth for us. Look at that. Quick as that. We've got some new feathers on here. I love this technique of just dropping in a little bit of color and doing a little bit of negative painting. It can be so effective. Look at that wing. That's nice. And we didn't do anything. We did that in 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes. Made a super nice wing right there. I'm going to do a little bit up here. Let's darken some of these. And some of these are in that area where it starts to get dark in that hat. But that's fine. I guess there's a lot of negative painting in this painting, isn't there? I didn't think there was quite this much. That's okay. I got another layer of feathers here. I don't know if I'm going to do them. I'm going to put some dark on here. A bit more dark. And I'll just pull this right on down. We'll just have these 2 layers of feathers here. I think it'll be fine. I think he looks pretty good. I'm going to get in some of this yellow. Let's see. Patricia, the link to Discord is down in the comments down below. Yes, and once Michael's Discord channel, go to Painting Challenges tab and add a photo of your painting. There you go. Thank you for handling that, Liza. See, that's why I need somebody to help me along or push me along. Because I get busy. With this stuff and forget about that stuff. So, Liza, thank you for doing that. Now, I'm painting his whole eye here, knowing that I will be painting over the pupil, right? It's got this giant pupil. All owls have this giant pupil. That's what makes them look menacing, is their eyes are so big and bright, and they have that giant pupil right in the middle. Whoa, look at that. He already looks mean. Okay, let's see. Everything's dry here. So what I'm going to do, where did my paper down here go? I'm gonna clean off while I'm waiting for this to dry and for that to dry. I'm gonna clean off this section. Again, that's gonna be my blue section, and we're gonna start to paint our background right after I get a drink of water. Patricia says you love how we all help and go along with each other. It's because we've become a really nice watercolor community here. We really have. And I would love to take credit for it, but I can't, because It's a group effort. It's a group effort. Let's just see what color of blue we can mix here. I don't want to get too much into my Phthalo Blue because that's going to stain so much. But look at that color blue. I hope you can see what we got going on here. I think this will be fine. A lot of water. I've switched back to my golden maple brush here. This would be great application for this golden maple brush. This is what you want a good mop brush to do. Is be able to fill a space with some color. Not that I'm promoting these, but I'll promote them a little bit. Not that I'm doing it, but I'm going to do it. You know, mop brushes are very good at holding water and slowly releasing it so that you can cover large areas with one dip into your well. Oh, look at the background already. Makes it come to life a little bit. Maybe I should reassess doing backgrounds. And we'll see how much of a... I can already tell you the answer is not much. How much of a... not a constant wash. What am I trying to say? How consistent this wash is, because I don't really want it to be all that consistent, maybe a little bit. But I definitely want some darker areas. I definitely want some lighter areas in this background. A Quaker. Wait, you've made my owl a Quaker? He's not... you made my owl a pilgrim. I'm going to paint the same thing for Thanksgiving then. We're going to do another owl. I'll give him the pilgrim hat, and then I should have painted him now with a pirate hat. No, he's got a witch hat. When do pirates... Is there a pirate holiday? Other than... other than... Halloween, there must be some kind of day when you can show your piratitude, right? There must be. All right. Can't believe you've branded him a pilgrim. It's the buckle, isn't it? Is it the buckle that I put on there? He couldn't have had nothing. He had to have something on there. Boy, this quick background, I'll tell you, for being a quick background, a good nighttime kind of a thing here. Come on, give me some of this color, and let's get it on there. It looks really good, I think. You guys will be the ultimate judge. Gotta get closer to this is why I don't like doing backgrounds. You gotta get really close to what you've been painting, but not go over it, and it's sometimes a little strenuous, stressful, but we'll get there. We'll do it. And actually, I've learned, I used to be really uppity about not having any white show, between the background and whatever it is I'm painting around, and I'm a little less fanatical about it now. I think I've learned that if you go over just a little bit, or if you don't quite get all the way to it, in the long run, it's not really that big of a deal. I think we make it a bigger deal than it really needs to be. But look at him. Look, I think he, look. Oh, I love the way it looks up there. Pyrrol with a pirate hat. A turkey with a hat. Oh. The Pirates is April 15th. April 15th. Pirates is April 15th. I don't get it. For Thanksgiving, I need a turkey with a hat. Okay, all right, a turkey with a pilgrim hat. I guess if I'm gonna make it a turkey, I can paint a live turkey. I don't have to paint a turkey on a platter, right? The problem with painting turkeys is that turkeys have a lot of coloration and pattern in their feathers. And I mean, they really do. If you've ever seen a turkey up close, or you've seen a tom turkey, they have like 400 million wrinkles in their combs and their crowns and their heads, and they're 15 different colors, and then their bodies, their feathers have all kinds of different colors. It's a lot to do. And you guys are talking away, and I'm here trying to get some color on here. I'm going to paint right around my floating branch. But look how long I'm painting without going back to my color here. This brush does hold a lot of water. Just right on around. Keep right on going. Keep right on rolling. Where's Iggy? Is Iggy still here? You can see I'm painting a lot of this without turning it. Whoops. Except for that part. Don't look at that part. That part I might have messed up on. Just painted over the branch, but that's okay. Ooh. Okay. All right. See, now a little bit of dark here and a little bit of dark there. That might have been a little too dry to get some dark on. Oh, look at how it stands out. Okay. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so what do we got here? Turkeys with salad head or another vegetable. Michael, has doing these lives helped improve your painting? I believe it has. Oh, Kim Gomez. Kim, September has Talk Like a Pirate Day. I'm sorry, Kim, I didn't even notice you. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you on here before, so welcome to the stream. Welcome to my studio, such as it is, and my Wednesday watercolor stream. I'm happy to have you here. Friday, September 9th is Talk Like a Pirate Day. 2025. I don't know what day of the week that would be on. So here's a pirate joke. What's a pirate's favorite letter of the alphabet? Anybody know? Anybody know? Pirates are. And while you're thinking of a pirate's favorite letter, I will answer your question, Sherry. Yes, I think it has. I don't think it's a necessary that I would do this to help improve my painting, but I will say that having to talk about what I'm painting and why I'm painting it the way I paint it while I'm painting it helps solidify why I'm doing it in my brain. And then the next time I do it, I don't have to think about why I'm painting it a certain way. And in that case, yes, I do think it has helped me. Let's see. Oh, so a pirate's favorite letter of the alphabet would be an R. No, it's not an R. It's the C. Because a pirate always goes out to sea. Ba-bum-bum. Come on, somebody laugh. Somebody. Oh, I'm getting a little punchy. Let's see. I'm going to get a little gold here. I'm going to put a little green gold in my orange mixture here because that green gold has a little fizzle in it. Right? And the buckle has to have something going on here. And so I'm hoping that green gold is just wonderful for that little pop of, I don't even know if you want to call it warmth or what, but what is in it? It's PY 129, but there's something in it that really makes it pop and sizzle. So I'm going to put a little color on here, and then I'm going to try to, in that same mixture, mix it in a little bit of this burnt umber. I want to keep it warm. And put in just a little shadow color here and there so we can get a little bit of 3D-ness on it. Is that a thing to say, a little 3D-ness? Susie says it's almost midnight in Maryland. Yeah, but it's almost midnight in Maryland, but I don't know why. I haven't figured it out other than the fact that I'm getting a little older. But my body has decided, you know what? I think 4 o'clock is a good time for you to wake up. Whether it is or not, that's what my body tells me. And so I've been up since a little after 4 a.m. And by the end of the day, I do sometimes get a little punchy, I will admit. But I think that's a good punchy. It's just a little pirate joke. There we go. A little bit of his eye there, and I'm going to get a little bit of his eye over here. Let's hope that sets it off. I think we're going to end up with having to put a second coat of eye color on here, pupil color. Yep, we're definitely going to have to do that, but that's okay. It's okay. Ooh, look at it. By the time we get a highlight on there, that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. Now his beak, and I want to get a little bit grayer on one side so we can have it a little bit lighter. So I'm going to put a little bit of that Paynes Gray on this side and then transition that over into a little bit more of this pure black on the other side. And I think this is another area where we're going to have a second layer of paint on there, but I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. Whew. Let's see, Sherry said, oh, green gold. I use it, green gold, a use for it rather than just for mixing greens. There you go. I found the same thing when I was teaching watercolor painting to others. I improved a lot because I was explaining it to them. Right. There's something about having to talk about what you're doing and actually doing it at the same time. It somehow solidifies it to you and makes it stick a little bit better. And do you need that to get better? I don't think you do. but it helps. And so I think that this, through, what have I been back doing this for almost 2 years now, or about 2 years, I think. I do think it has helped. And I think only part of that is my painting. The other part of that is hearing feedback from you all, right? And taking that to heart and trying to incorporate some of that. Right? When you hear something, somebody says something, and you go, oh, that's interesting, let me try that. Then there's a bit of learning that you take from that. So I think there's part of it. The part of it is, just the increased practice that I get as I'm painting here. It's just one more time to practice. And then the other part is talking and putting into practice what I'm doing as I'm talking. So put all those things together, and I think the answer is yes, I have gotten better. Although I may have to bust out some paint. Such a good teacher. Me, a good teacher. If I can teach you, that'd be awesome. I would settle for developing some greater appreciation for the art form that I like, that I hope everybody here likes, just the appreciation of it, that little bit more, and to not take ourselves quite so seriously as we're doing it, because there's already so much in watercolor painting that can derail us and make us less successful. Let's try to get rid of some of that and make ourselves a little bit more successful as we do it, right? It helps a lot. It does help a lot. Okay. Whew. Okay. I feel like we're still got a lot to go on here. I really do. I want to put on a little bit more on our branch here. I don't think we've gotten quite the right color or intensity on our branch. I go a little bit more. I've got to watch because that's wet up here. Give me some of all of these. Give me some of all of these colors that are there. I'll just put all these colors on there. It's a branch, right? It's a branch, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be something, but the intensity is a little less now than what I want it to be. So, especially on the bottom, I'm happy to put a little extra color down here, right? This is away from our light is over there. So this is away from it. So it should have be a little darker over here anyways. Let's just do that. But I don't want to take too much away from our owl over there. Oh, and now I've got a puddle down here that I don't like. Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it all out. I think one other thing that has really helped as I've done these is that I can't, and it's only something you're going to get if you're doing it live in front of people, probably, is that I can't get bogged down in one little problem. Right? One problem. One little thing happens, and you've got a dozen people or 24 people watching you. You can't dwell on it too much. You've just kind of got to go, yeah, right? Stuff happens. We'll fix it, and we'll move on. And so I think I kind of knew how to do it to begin with before, but I've gotten a lot more of learning how to recover from any mistakes, right? I'm going to put that in quotes, mistakes that I've made, and I'm counting the mistakes as something that doesn't quite turn out on paper the way I had it in my mind. Not that it's wrong or right. It just doesn't turn out quite the way I had it originally pictured in my mind. So I think that's a distinction that needs to be made for what's right and wrong rather than is it a good painting or a bad painting. I think that's a very important distinction that needs to be made. All right, I'm much happier with our branch now. Much happier. It looks much more intense. I could even put a little bit more blue down here. It's much more intense. There's some shadow color down here. I think now I need to add some more color to our tail here. It looks a little anemic at this point. And so we're going to do that. Just a little bit of extra color, not too much. There it is. That's got to be, this is going to be mostly the same color as what's up above. So dark, 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 dark. We can pull that down a little bit. Maybe the end of his tail isn't quite as dark, but it's got to start considerably darker. Oh, and now you can see that branch goes right through there. Ooh, I like that. I think we are all getting more comfortable in ourselves about our painting because of my channel. Really? Thank you. If that's true, that really means a lot to me because, you know, I think I've said it a couple of times tonight. It means a lot to me that people are more accepting of their painting or that they paint better because of me, because I've said it lots of times. I've gotten plenty of help along the way in trying to learn how to paint watercolors, and I really do want to give that back. And so if that's true, and I'm not doubting you, it's just sometimes a little hard to believe. But that warms my heart, and I would say thank you back to you for being receptive to anything I may have said about watercolor painting. And I try to, you know, I'll tell you guys everything I'm doing. I don't think in watercolor painting, you know, there's no secret to any of it. Right? As far as technique or anything, there's no secrets to anything. You can look in a book and you can find every technique that you ever want. You can look on YouTube and find examples of how to use or when to use every technique. So in that respect, there's not a whole lot that is unknown with watercolor painting. What I try to do is present it to you in a way that's super positive and super comfortable for everybody to pick it up and try it out. And I try to give my explanation of why things have worked for me and hope that they would work for you. And if they do, that's awesome. If they don't, I hope you've taken enough from me to understand that that's okay too. The way I do things isn't always the way that everybody should do things. But you can take the things that I've shown you or the things that you've learned from other people on YouTube and adapt those to your own techniques and the way that you like to paint. Right? I think for a while I talked about just finding out how you paint, right? We all paint slightly differently. So find out how you like to paint and lean into that and do that the best. Make that your style. And I think that most people can do that. I think a lot of us just don't have the inclination to do it because maybe we haven't been given the authority to do that or something like that. I'm just going to give him some eyebrows here. I want him to have a few little dark feathers up here, and maybe he's got a few bits of dark here and there. Oh, I really think he's getting there. I really do. I think he's starting to look fantastic. I think for a Halloween painting, I think he looks really good. You know what I want to do? I want to give a dark line up here, though. I had a big problem with a background for a hummingbird, but I rescued it by using a technique called bokeh. I'm not sure the spelling, but you might try that if you don't like the background. I don't know what bokeh is. I don't feel able to comment on what bokeh is, but I will readily admit that there are lots of different techniques that you can use on backgrounds or different areas in your painting that could really help you out in some areas if you're feeling less than comfortable with some things. I think I just painted that too fat. I needed a liner brush there. Maybe I can save it. Maybe I can save it. There you go. All right, it's just a little line up there. Sherry, you've seen people do it, or Susie, you've seen people do it, but you just forgot all about it. Well, there you go. I'm glad you could be reminded of it. I think I'm gonna look it up too. Bokeh. Bokeh. All right, I got one last thing to do, and I think we're pretty close to done. We are going to have to put a little white on his eyeball up here. And maybe a line on his beak, but I've got his little toes down here to do. And then we'll be done. But I saw a butt come out here somewhere. I'm going to get to that in a second. We're getting more confident because of your channel and this community. Yeah, it's probably the community. I'm happy to guide the sessions, but it's you guys who are up for it all and are doing a lot on your own. I mean, don't forget to take your own credit in everything. Right? I think there's plenty of that for you all to take. Liza is out of here. Liza, thank you for stopping by. Hope to see you next week. Thank you for all the help. Thank you for reminding everybody to hit the like button. I appreciate that. We're almost done here anyways. Look at that guy. Now he's got some toes on there too, right? Now he's got some toes. A little darker back there. A little darker, a little darker, a little darker. Sometimes I say stuff like that. I can only think of Bob Ross. A little darker, a little darker. Look at those little feet back there. All right, Liza, thank you for joining. Watch this. We're going to do this, and we're going to be done. I'm going to sign it somewhere. Let me pull that down so you can see all of it. Got my favorite... I want to say favorite. I want to say my only white gouache. Here, I'm going to put a couple little dots. That is totally wet. I'm going to give him a little line there, and hopefully... Oh, I just put that back in. That eye looks a little funny, but... that's okay. Give him a little shine up here on his belt buckle. A little something on a claw here, maybe. 1, 2, 3. I think that's about it. I think that's it. I think we did it. We did it. Oh my lord, it's 2 hours. I used to say, I'm going to do this for an hour. I'm just going to sign it right there in the middle. You just say, it's going to take me an hour to do this. And each week, it seems to take me a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Okay, so, goods, bads, whatever. I like some of this hat up here. I really like some of this hat up here. I think it really looks nice. I think maybe I could have done a little bit more with the moon. I could still go back and I could get it wet and put in some darker spots. You know, maybe some big craters up there or something. But I don't hate it the way it is. And I like the green that's in that. I like the green. It's better than just a normal color. I like his feathers here. I like the fact that he's got some layers. I always like the fact that they have some layers. Might have got a little dark here, but I like the layers. I like the dark here and the light there and the dark here and the light there. I like all of that. I like his eye. I like his beak. Things I don't like the way I drew some of this around here. I wish I had drawn it slightly differently. And I kind of tried to be a bit of a slave to what I had there. But in the end, I like it. I think it turned out really well. I like his tail sticking out back here. I think I could have gone even a little darker on some of this. But that's it. Woo! That's what I've got for you. Susie says this owl is quite a character. Patricia, I'll have to go also in a moment. You love it? Okay, that's fine. Dana says the owl looks great. Patricia gives smiles and laughing. I love that. It's spelled Boca. You can find about it on YouTube. Boca. I don't have a pencil, and I don't want to write on this. I'll write it over here. B-O. Where did it go? B-O-K-E-H. B-O-K-E-H. I'm going to look it up. All right, that's what I've got for you guys today. Remember, next week is Pumpkin Week, so I'll have something ready to go. We'll all paint a nice pumpkin. I love the look. I think this guy was very successful. I like the way he turned out. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Those of you who are continuing on to have it, if you're going to bed, I hope you have some lovely sleep. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope you are able to come back again and join me next Wednesday. Until then, thank you all so much. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.